He looked at her like she was nothing, just another uniform blending into the background of Gate 47. Captain Rick Holden barely glanced up from his tablet as he waved his hand dismissively toward the woman standing near the cockpit door. "Hey, maintenance is done. You can finish up later. We're boarding in 10. His voice carried that casual arrogance of someone who'd never been told no, someone who believed the world revolved around his flight schedule. The woman didn't move. She just stood there, duffel bag slung over her shoulder, eyes calm and unreadable. "Excuse me?" Her voice was steady, quiet even, but there was something beneath it, something that should have made him pause. He didn't. "You heard me. We've got passengers coming on. Whatever cleaning you're doing, it can wait." Off the plane, he turned back to his pre-flight checklist, already forgetting her face. What Captain Holden didn't know, what he couldn't have known from his entitled little bubble 30,000 feet above the consequences of disrespect, was that the woman he just dismissed wasn't cleaning staff. She wasn't maintenance. She was Colonel Eva Raines, one of the most decorated Navy SEAL officers in U.S. history, returning home after a classified operation in the Middle East that had saved the lives of over 200 civilians. The duffel bag? It carried more than clothes. It carried the weight of 15 years of service, 3 Purple Hearts, a Navy Cross, and scars that ran deeper than skin. But she didn't say any of that. Not yet. She simply nodded once, turned on her heel, and walked off the aircraft. Because people like Eva didn't need to announce who they were. The world had a way of revealing the truth when it mattered most. 20 minutes later, the plane was fully boarded. Captain Holden settled into his seat, adjusting his headset with the confidence of a man who'd flown this route 1,000 times. The co-pilot, a younger guy named Stevens, glanced over nervously. Captain, did you see who you just kicked off the plane?" Holden shrugged. "Some cleaner. Why?" Stevens' face went pale. "That wasn't a cleaner. That was Colonel Raines, Navy SEAL. She's supposed to be on this flight. Command requested priority seating for her." The color drained from Holden's face. His hands froze mid-motion over the controls. "What did you just say?" "Colonel Eva Raines. She's kind of a legend, man. I saw her file once during a joint training brief. She led the operation that took down the Kandahar smuggling ring. She's pulled hostages out of buildings that were literally collapsing. And you just told her to get off the plane." The silence in the cockpit was suffocating. Holden's stomach twisted into a knot so tight he thought he might be sick. He'd spent his entire career in the safety of a cockpit, pressing buttons and following flight paths, and he'd just disrespected a woman who'd bled for her country in ways he couldn't begin to imagine. Outside, near the gate, Eva stood with her back against the wall, phone pressed to her ear. She wasn't angry. Anger was a luxury she'd learned to let go of years ago. But she was tired. Tired of being underestimated. Tired of being invisible unless she was in full uniform with medals pinned across her chest. A gate agent approached her hesitantly. "Ma'am, there's been a misunderstanding. We'd like to get you back on the flight. First class, complimentary. We're so sorry." Eva looked at her for a long moment, then shook her head. "It's fine. I'll catch the next one." The agent's eyes widened. "But ma'am, the captain, he wants to apologize personally." "I'm sure he does." Eva's voice was soft, but it carried the weight of someone who'd heard 1,000 apologies that meant nothing. "Tell him I don't need his apology. I need people to do better." She turned and walked toward the exit, her boots echoing against the polished airport floor. But the story didn't end there. Because 24 hours later, Captain Rick Holden found himself sitting in a conference room at the airline's headquarters, facing a review board. Word had spread fast. A passenger had recorded the exchange and posted it online. Within hours, it went viral. Pilot Humiliate's War Hero was trending across every platform. The airline was in damage control mode, and Holden was the face of their failure. He sat there, hands trembling, as the board laid out the consequences. Mandatory sensitivity training, suspension without pay, a formal written apology to Colonel Raines. But the worst part, the shame, the crushing, inescapable realization that he'd looked at a hero and seen nothing. 3 weeks later, Ava was sitting in a small cafe near the base when a man approached her table. She looked up and recognized him immediately. Captain Holden. He looked different, smaller somehow, humbled. "Colonel Rains," he said quietly, voice cracking just slightly, "I know you don't owe me anything. But I needed to say this in person. I'm sorry. Not because I got caught. Not because it cost me. But because I was wrong. I looked at you and I didn't see you. I didn't see your service, your sacrifice. I just saw what I wanted to see. And that's on me." Ava studied him for a moment, then gestured to the chair across from her. He sat. She didn't speak right away. She just looked at him, really looked at him, the way she'd learned to assess people in the field. "You know what the hardest part of my job is?" she finally said. "It's not the bullets. It's not the missions. It's coming home and realizing that the country I fight for still doesn't see me. Not unless I'm wearing a uniform. Not unless I'm holding a gun. That's the war I can't win." Holden nodded slowly, eyes glassy. "I don't know how to make it right." "You can't," Eva said simply. "But you can do better next time. You can see people, all people. That's how you make it right." They sat there in silence for a few more moments before Ava stood, dropped a few bills on the table, and walked out into the sunlight. She didn't look back, because heroes don't need vindication. They just keep moving forward one step at a time, carrying the weight the rest of us refuse to see. And somewhere, in a cockpit halfway across the country, Captain Rick Holden started his pre-flight checklist with a little more humility and a lot more respect. Because he'd learned the hard way that the people you overlook are often the ones who've already saved the world.